I was dead for 6 hours. Clinically, legally, completely dead. The doctor signed my death certificate. My family started planning my funeral. But something happened in those 6 hours. Something I was never supposed to remember. I met someone, a priest with wounds on his hands, and he told me I had to go back, that my work wasn't finished. When I woke up, everything had changed. My name is Roberto Francesco Moretti. I was born in Rome, Italy in 1925. I grew up in a working-class neighborhood. My father was a carpenter. My mother was a seamstress. We didn't have much, but we had enough. I was raised Catholic like everyone else in those days, but I wasn't what you would call a faithful man. I went to church on Easter and Christmas. I said my prayers when I remembered, but God wasn't a big part of my life. I was too busy living, too busy working, too busy chasing money and success. Faith was for old women and children, or so I thought. By 1961, I had built a good life. I was 36 years old. I had a wife, Maria, a beautiful woman with dark eyes and a gentle soul. We had 3 children, Lucia, who was 10, Paolo, who was 7, and little Francesca, who was only 4. I owned a small construction company. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. I had everything a man could want, and I thought I had all the time in the world. I was wrong. It happened on March 15th, 1961, a Wednesday. I remember because it was the Ides of March, the day Julius Caesar was killed. I should have known it was a bad omen. I was at work, supervising a construction site. It was a normal day, nothing special. And then, without warning, I felt a pain in my chest, sharp, crushing, like an elephant sitting on my heart. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. I fell to the ground, and the world went black. The workers called for an ambulance, but by the time it arrived, I was already gone. My heart had stopped completely. They tried to revive me on the way to the hospital. Nothing worked. The doctors worked on me for another hour. Chest compressions, electric shocks, everything they had, nothing. At 2:47 p.m., Dr. Alessandro Ferrara pronounced me dead. Cause of death, massive heart attack. He signed the death certificate. He called my wife, and they covered my body with a white sheet. Maria arrived at the hospital with my mother. They were both crying. The doctor explained what had happened. "I'm sorry, Signora. We did everything we could. He's gone." Maria collapsed. My mother started screaming. They were taken to a room to calm down. Meanwhile, my body was moved to the morgue, to wait for the funeral home, to wait for my burial. I was dead, completely, absolutely dead. But I wasn't gone, not really, because while my body was lying in that cold morgue, I was somewhere else. I don't know how to describe what happened next, because human words weren't made for what I experienced. But I'll try. The moment my heart stopped, I felt myself rising, floating, lifting away from my body. I looked down and saw myself on the hospital bed. Doctors and nurses working frantically, but I felt nothing, no pain, no fear, just peace, a peace I had never known in my entire life. Then everything changed. The hospital room faded away, and I was somewhere else, a place of light, not like sunlight or electric light, something different, something alive. The light was everywhere, warm, welcoming, loving. It surrounded me, embraced me. I felt like I was home, like I had finally arrived at a place I had been searching for my whole life. Without ever knowing I was searching, I wasn't alone. There were others there, not people exactly, beings, figures of light. They didn't speak with words, but I understood them, I felt them, and I knew somehow that they had always been with me, watching over me, even when I had ignored God, even when I had lived selfishly. They had never abandoned me. I saw my grandfather. He had died when I was 12. But there he was, young again, healthy, smiling. He didn't speak, but his eyes said everything. "It's okay, Roberto. You're safe now." I wanted to stay. I wanted to stay forever. I had never felt such peace, such love, such completeness. But then I saw him, a man walking toward me, through the light. He was different from the others. He was wearing a brown robe, like a monk. His face was old, weathered, kind. He had a beard, gray and white, and his hands were wrapped in bandages, stained with something dark, blood. He stopped in front of me, and he looked at me with eyes that knew everything, every sin I had ever committed, every lie I had ever told, every time I had ignored God, every time I had failed my family. He saw it all, and yet there was no judgment in his eyes, only love, only compassion, only understanding. He spoke, not with his mouth, inside my mind, inside my soul. "Roberto, it is not your time." I didn't understand. "But I'm dead. I can feel it. I'm dead." He smiled, a gentle, fatherly smile. "Your body has stopped, but your soul is eternal. You have more work to do. Your family needs you. Your children need their father. You must go back." I didn't want to go back. This place was perfect. This place was peace. Why would anyone want to leave? "Please," I begged, "let me stay. It's so beautiful here." He shook his head slowly. "Not yet, my son. Your time will come, but not today. You have been given a second chance. Use it wisely. Live differently. Love more, judge less, trust in God. And when your time truly comes, I will be here waiting for you." He raised his wounded hand and touched my forehead. I felt a jolt, like electricity, like fire, and suddenly I was falling back into darkness, falling back into my body, falling back into life. I opened my eyes. I was cold, so cold. I tried to move, but I couldn't. I tried to speak, but my throat was dry. I looked around. I was in a small room. Metal, cabinets, bright lights. And then I realized where I was. The morgue. I was in the morgue. I screamed, or at least I tried to scream. What came out was a weak, hoarse cry. But it was enough. A morgue attendant was nearby. He heard the sound. He walked over, and when he saw my eyes open, he fainted, collapsed right there on the floor. The next few hours were chaos, doctors rushing in, nurses crying, everyone confused, everyone scared. They checked my vitals. My heart was beating. My lungs were breathing. I was alive, but that was impossible. I had been dead for 6 hours, clinically dead, no heartbeat, no brain activity, nothing, for 6 hours. And now I was alive. They called Maria. She had been at home, planning my funeral. When they told her I was alive, she thought it was a cruel joke. But when she arrived at the hospital and saw me sitting up in bed, she collapsed, just like when they told her I was dead. But this time, she collapsed from joy. The doctors couldn't explain it. They ran every test they could think of. They consulted with specialists from all over Italy. No one had ever seen anything like it. 6 hours of clinical death, no oxygen to the brain. I should have been brain dead at best. A vegetable, but I was fine, better than fine. My heart was stronger than before. My mind was clearer than ever. It was impossible, medically, scientifically impossible, and yet here I was, alive. When I was strong enough to speak, I told Maria what happened. I told her about the light, about the beings, about my grandfather, and about the priest with the wounded hands. She listened with tears in her eyes. When I finished, she got up and left the room. She came back a few minutes later with a newspaper clipping, an old photograph. "Is this him?" she asked. "Is this the man you saw?" I looked at the picture and my heart stopped. Not literally this time, but it felt like it. It was him. The same face, the same beard, the same eyes, the same wounded hands. "Yes," I whispered, "that's him. Who is he?" Maria crossed herself. "His name is Padre Pio. He's a priest in San Giovanni Rotondo. They say he has the stigmata, the wounds of Christ. They say he performs miracles." I couldn't believe it. The man who sent me back from death was alive. He was a real person, living in a monastery just a few 100 kilometers away. I had to meet him. I had to understand what happened to me. 3 months later, when I was fully recovered, I traveled to San Giovanni Rotondo. Maria came with me. We arrived at the monastery and joined the thousands of pilgrims. We waited for days to attend his Mass, and when I finally saw him in person, I knew it was him. The same man I had met on the other side. After the Mass, I tried to speak to him, but there were so many people, so many desperate souls. I couldn't get close, but as I was about to give up, he looked at me. Across the crowded church, he looked directly at me, and he smiled. The same smile I had seen in that place of light. He nodded once, as if to say, "I remember. Now go and live." I never got to speak to him in person, but I didn't need to. I understood. He had been there, he had sent me back, and now I had to fulfill my promise, to live differently, to love more, to trust in God. I kept that promise. I changed my life completely. I stopped working so much. I spent more time with my children. I went back to church, not just on Easter and Christmas, every Sunday, sometimes every day. I became a different man, the man I was supposed to be all along. Padre Pio died in 1968, 7 years after he sent me back from death. When I heard the news, I wept, but I also smiled, because I knew where he was. I had been there, and I knew it was beautiful. I am 99 years old now. I have outlived my wife. I have outlived most of my friends. But I am not afraid of death. How can you be afraid of something so beautiful? I know what waits on the other side. I have seen it. I have felt it. And I know that when my time truly comes, he will be there waiting for me, just like he promised. My children think I'm crazy. My grandchildren think it's a nice story, but I know the truth. I died on March 15th, 1961. I was dead for 6 hours, and a priest with wounded hands sent me back, not because I deserved it, but because God wasn't finished with me yet. If you're watching this, know that death is not the end. It's just the beginning. There is something more, something beautiful, something loving. I have seen it, and one day you will see it too. Don't be afraid. My name is Roberto Francesco Moretti. I died once, and I came back to tell you the truth. Heaven is real, and so are miracles. This story is inspired by numerous documented cases of near-death experiences involving Padre Pio, including accounts of individuals who claim to have met him during clinical death. Padre Pio was canonized as a saint by the Catholic Church in 2002.